Hey everyone. So today what I want to talk about is attracting the right people, right? Attracting the right people. And so this is a concept that I believe, is very difficult because first and foremost, in order to attract the right people, you have to be comfortable with yourself, comfortable with your own personhood, which is, you're probably like, what does that even mean? Right? And it just means that you are accepting yourself first and foremost. You affirm yourself, you are comfortable with yourself, you put yourself first, you practice self-love. And when you do that, people really kind of flock to that, right? One of the reasons why, and also why I really enjoy kind of studying marketing and sales and whatnot, is because when you kind of aren't anchored, where you're kind of defining your worth by outside factors, what you're essentially starting to do is selling yourself, right? You're trying to appease people with what they think are the attributes that they want to see in you, right? And you kind of see this, like I said, in sales. Have you ever gone to the mall? And I haven't been to the mall in a while, actually, now that I think about it. But have you ever gone to the mall and just kind of instinctively kind of shied away to like those like little kiosk things, or even like in a regular store where you can kind of see, I know I do this, like in Walmart, where you can kind of see people starting to try to like sell you things, and it's just like, I'm good, like I'm good, I don't want that, right? And it's not even that I don't necessarily need whatever they have to offer. A lot of times I don't even like try to wait and see what they're selling. I just know that I don't want it, and it's because they're just, I don't know, it's just something about how them needing something from me or wanting something from me that really repels me. And this is something that happens, it's part of human nature. It's just part of something that happens naturally, right? Because when you need something from a person, all of a sudden, they have to be responsible for both you and themselves, and they can feel that. It feels like responsibility. That's why it kind of feels like yuck. It's like, okay, now I am faced with something that I need to do outside of myself that I wasn't expecting to. And also, because you're a person outside of themselves, you're never going to get the full picture of what they actually need from you. So it kind of does a couple things, right? It kind of creates kind of this conundrum within themselves, like this person needs a need fulfilled. Plus, in order to fulfill that need, you're going to have to ask additional questions. You're just going to have to expend additional energy, and it just becomes a situation in which it's just too much. And that's what happens when you are trying to be the right person for people that don't necessarily need or want you to be, right? And I learned by accident, just through general healing, and I've said this before, but I've learned by accident the ways in which I was repelling people in the past, and now the ways in which I kind of attract people, because I attract a lot of people now. And it's not on purpose. It's me just living my life. But in years past, what I used to do was hold people to expectations, right? One of the biggest kind of hurdles I had to get over in my 20s was that no one was coming to rescue me. Nobody was coming to help me. I had to help myself, right? And I don't mean that in a pessimistic kind of way. That like, oh, nobody wants to help you. Of course, there are people who are, they're willing to help you. But what I was doing was kind of sitting around and just kind of wishing and hoping people would help me. And that was effectively pushing people away, right? I was trying to sell them on a problem that was my own and expecting them to come to me, when in actuality, I was the one that needed to take the reins, right? And what ends up happening is when people see that you are willing to take responsibility for yourself, when they see that you are willing to put yourself first, when they see that you're willing to put in work to actually help yourself, then they're willing to step in and help you. Why? Because they know that you already are meeting your needs or attempting to meet your needs, and they're just kind of the icing on the cake if need be, right? It kind of takes away a lot of that sense of responsibility for you that people have for you, right? And people who are enablers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You kind of sense this responsibility. You kind of sense this sense of responsibility in some people, and if you happen to be one of those people that are a taker and you're watching this, you also see where you can kind of manipulate people when they have this attribute. Yes, I'm also talking to the people that are takers, so I'm pretty sure that there's some people who are watching, right? But needless to say, no matter who you are or what kind of temperament you have, whatever, this, that, and the other, you know what happens when you kind of come across this trait in people, this attribute in people, where they kind of have this neediness to them. Like I said, even I'm naturally a helper. I don't mind helping people, and even I can sense it in people too much sometimes. I'm more of the enabler type of person. I'm like, oh, let me help you out. But what happens when you become an enabler and help people too much? What you end up doing is kind of breaking your own heart. Why? Because what you're essentially doing is putting the responsibility they should have for themselves onto you, and that's never going to work out, because the only person who knows your needs best is yourself and God, quite honestly, right? Nobody else really knows your needs that well. You can tell people, the closest person that I would say that, has an idea of what your needs are, maybe a spouse, a parent, things of that nature. But for the most part, we should spend our time getting to learn ourselves and know ourselves, so we know how to best get our own needs met. And again, once you do that, you become magnetic to people. People will flock to you because you don't look like work. You actually look like a person who is grounded within themselves, right? You look like a person who is anchored, right? You don't look like someone who is, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't remember. The word just kind of escaped my brain. Maybe I'll think of it later. But essentially, you seem like someone who is not willing to compromise your boundaries. You seem like a person who compromise boundaries. You seem like a person who is willing to do the work to make yourself responsible for yourself. You look like a person who is willing to do hard things. That's actually one of my personal mottos. It was actually the title of a book. I won't say the name of the book. It was a very I don't want to use the word. I don't like to use the word toxic, but it was an evangelical book. But essentially, the name of the book was "Do Hard Things," right? Because life is already hard enough by yourself, and then when you add another person to the mix, then things really start getting difficult, right? And I know that firsthand, because what we're trying to do here, like I said, is attract people who are right for you. And the great thing about attracting people who are right for you is that what you end up doing is repelling those who aren't. And I talked about this before, how I kind of did this inadvertently. But what happens is, especially for people, if you attract, manipulators and whatnot, in order to manipulate someone, you have to get someone who is not grounded, does not have a sense of boundaries, because they need to mold people, right? And when you think of molding something, in order to mold something, they have to be pliable, right? Think of clay, think of, cutting out cookies, at Christmas time with the little cookie cutters, cutting out cookies. The only reason why you're able to do that is because it hasn't been put through fire just yet. It hasn't been hardened, right? It's pliable. You can work dough. You can work the cookie dough. You can work the clay. because it hasn't been put under fire. It hasn't been hardened, and it hasn't been tested either, right? Because all that goes. I don't know if you're into pot. If you've ever done pottery before, but there's a lot that you have to do to actually get the finished product, right? Is what I'm saying. I don't want to get too much into it. I can be all over the place sometimes, right? And so when a person, a manipulator, a user, when they sense that you are not anchored, they get excited because they see that you are someone who can be molded. And again, I learned this firsthand because I actually went through a changing process while I was with someone who was a manipulator, right? And they started kind of seeing this change within me, and it repelled him. Why did it repel him? Because he knew that all the lies that he was saying, he knew that all the ways in which I gave him free passes for certain things weren't gonna fly anymore, right? It was just like, oh, I really am in trouble now, because this person, she's really learning a lot about herself. I'm not going to be able to get away with the things that I got away in the past. And to me, that is the best thing about becoming, or getting on your healing journey, is not so much that you're attracting people, which is great, attracting the right people, which is great, but the fact that you will also naturally begin repelling the people that don't need to be in your life, because they sense that grounding, right? And the majority of them will leave you. Some will not leave you alone, but the majority of them will leave you alone, right? And so that's why I tell people, when it comes to attracting others, is always starting with yourself. I know it's one of those things that sounds like a platitude. It sounds very, cliche, but it really is true that when you start working on yourself and getting introspective and really understanding that everything starts and ends with your own healing and how well you've healed and how well, you're willing to be self-aware, is how you end up living the life that you really want, right? Because one of the side effects of not being grounded, not being confident, not choosing myself, not being anchored, is also when you get with the wrong people, when you're in the wrong company, it really diverts your attention and uses up your time. And I'm the kind of person where I really value my time a lot. I value time even above money, because you can't get time back. That time I spent at the beginning of this video is already done. It's already in the past. I can never get it back. Money, I can get money back. Right? And I know people will argue, well, it won't be the same money, whatever. You can't get time back. I can't make myself younger. I can make myself richer, but I can't make myself younger, right? And so one of the things that I'm really cognizant of is, how am I best using my time? And it really is one of my driving forces behind my desire to heal, my desire to really choose the right people, my desire to cultivate my purpose and kind of fully explore my purpose, right? Because it all really does boil down to the choices that we make. And the last thing I want to do is waste years, which I did. Last person I was with ended up wasting. I don't want to use the word waste, but it kind of thwarted my master plan. My purpose path, I should say, diverted it by about 6 years. But even now, looking back too, I know there were things that I needed to learn. So I don't want to say thwarted or diverted, but I can see where I spent some time kind of mentally in bondage over someone when I could have been, really growing as a person, exploring the plan, the plan God actually has for my life. And looking back, I'm like, okay, I can see why this is so vital, why this is so important. This is why I, even attention, like I don't really, I'm not that, I don't want to say not impressed by attention. That sounds kind of pretentious. But but attention really has no bearing on how I move as a person, right? Because attention, anybody can give you attention, right? And I get a lot of attention from guys and whatnot sometimes. But you know what? The fact of the matter is, all that attention doesn't boil down to having my having my needs met. Even down to the more like, what was it, like a week ago, got my oil change, right? Like all those dudes giving free attention, but I'm still taking care of myself, right? Because at the end of the day, you are just you, right? And that's not to say, I'm not a transactional type of person, but I'm just giving an example, right? Because people say, well, how did you attract so and so, and I'm just like, listen, like attention by itself is not. It's not all it's cracked up to be, honey. It really isn't, right? So hopefully that really spoke to someone. What I really want, especially for women, because we kind of have what our purpose is supposedly supposed to be kind of shoved down our throats. Men too, but talking to my fellow women here, we kind of have what our purpose is supposed to be. I know for me, it was like, you should be a wife, you should be married. I was like, but there's a lot of other great things within me too, in addition to that. And you know what? I think I want to discover what all those things are. It's okay to desire all that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But what I am saying is, we are humans, we are multidimensional, multifaceted beings. And you owe it to yourself to put your best foot forward and do everything that you can to be able to fully explore your capabilities, purpose, all of that. And again, this journey, all of it starts with you. All right. So thank you so very much for watching. I'm going to leave some links below. Please follow me on Instagram at I am Bliss Alexandria. Again, it's going to be below. I'll also leave my links for consultation, some courses, website, all that jazz. All right. So thank you so much. Have a good one.